Hello, this is the Reverend Dr. David Chotka of Spirit Equipped Ministries. I want to start off the top today by giving you a scripture passage from Psalm 126, verse 5. Those who sow in tears will reap with shouts of joy. It's a scripture that has to do entirely with agricultural life, but people have used it to speak to anything that they're doing where they're making attempts and it's hard. Now I want to just bring you into a story where that was the case. The fella tried 23 times. In fact, a couple of biographers who have chronicled his life have indicated that it took considerably longer than that. Some have said as many as 40 different attempts. Well, it was at least 23. It may have been as many as 40 for his innovative writing. The trouble was that the writing was so completely outside the box of ordinary that nobody took him seriously. They thought that he was way outside the framework of what people would find acceptable. You see, he had devised a different way of teaching children how to read and write and spell and develop public reading and eventually public speaking skills. He found see, spot, run, spot, run, ridiculously boring. So he put his innovative writing into a manuscript and offered the completed work to a large publishing house. Well, that company gave him a resounding and decisive no. Now, undaunted, he thought he would take his work to another publishing house, and he presented it to them, and once again he received a resounding no. They didn't want to proceed with this. They didn't like the particular style. They thought he was way outside the box. So did number 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10. That's discouraging. Now you need to understand that in the day when he did this would be done by mail or it would be done in person with travel. And so you need to put 2 weeks to 2 months between each offer and each refusal. And you will know that this was a long, long, tedious season without any affirmation whatsoever. Now, some of those rejections included this fledgling author traveling to the city where the publishing house was located, and for him to do a presentation in front of a bunch of people who had a vested interest in making sure the money would come in as a result of sales of the book. And then he'd get the rejection after having traveled and done his best to present. So let's consider what it was that he lost. You need to know he invested significant time, a lot of time, into trying to make this succeed. He also invested significant amounts of money, personal capital that he invested and saw no return. It was certainly personal inconvenience. It was certainly emotional truck because he was invested in it emotionally, mentally, and in the end it was hope shattered. The writer of Proverbs says this in the 13th chapter, verse 12, hope deferred makes the heart sick. So press repeat until you get to years of time invested with no return. Press repeat again and repeat again and repeat again. It was rejection number 23 or 39. The biographers aren't really clear. The man was walking out of a publishing house office, jaded, depressed, and now quite determined to just stop trying. He gave up. In fact, it was worse than giving up. He decided he would never present the manuscript to any other publishing house again. In fact, the fella himself, on later reflection, looking back, admitted that he was on his way to burn the manuscript. As he was walking out of the building with the purchase of a lighter or matches in mind, he bumped into an old college friend from Dartmouth College. And as it turned out, his old college friend had become a publisher of children's books. Now the manuscript, which was doomed for the fire, was in his hands. And the fellow asked to see the material, and he said, oh, why not? And he showed it to him. And his Dartmouth College colleague reviewed the writing on the spot and was absolutely amazed by it. Within minutes, that book was accepted, and then it was published by Vanguard Press that year. So began the launch of the children's book writing career of a fellow named Theodore Geisel. The second half of the proverb fits the bill as well. Desire fulfilled is a tree of life. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. Desire fulfilled is a tree of life. See, spot, run has been replaced by many of this man's titles. Now, you likely know him by a different name. In fact, it was his mother's maiden name, and it was bestowed on him as a middle name. You know him by the name Dr. Seuss. He sold more than 100 million copies, more than 500 million copies, of such books as Horton Hears a Who, The Cat in the Hat, Green Eggs and Ham, One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish, and if you haven't done any of those, you will know How the Grinch Stole Christmas. He wrote that book and many, many others. Now another scripture comes to mind. Those who sow in tears shall reap with joyful shouting. He who goes to and fro weeping, carrying his bag of seed, shall indeed come again with a shout of joy, bringing his sheaves with him. That psalm comes from a day when farmers in a survival culture, with almost nothing except a portion of last year's grain, had to make a hard choice every time seed time arrived. They had to choose how much of the crop would be used for eating, and they were hungry, and how much would be used in the hope that the crop would come up and they'd be able to harvest the grain again and eat again at all. Crop failure was ordinary. And sometimes those farmers with their bag of seed around their waist would weep while they were sowing, because they didn't know if the crop that they were sowing, that was much needed food that was being thrown away, or actually an investment in hope for the future. Now, this text tells us to have confidence in the God who oversees our labor, who knows our disappointments, and orchestrates for us to meet those who would help us succeed, even if it's after attempt number 23 or 40. I guess I'm trying to say, those who sow in tears shall reap with shouts of joy. Don't give up. You might want to give up, but don't give up. Take the seed of your life and keep sowing it, because God himself is the one who oversees the crop. This is the Reverend Dr. David Chotka of Spirit Equipped Ministries. If you would like to receive bi-weekly blogs, you can go to the www.spiritequipped.com page. Go down to the bottom of the opt-in section. You can give us the information, and these will be pushed out to you twice a week, or you can subscribe to the Spirit Equipped Ministries YouTube channel. May the Lord bless you.